to Atlanta Community Profiles, a show about living in Atlanta and purchasing a home here. Atlanta Community Profiles is hosted by Lou Whelan, who will talk to experts who know this ever-changing city and its real estate industry. We'll talk to mayors, community leaders, and residential real estate experts. Now, here's Lou Whelan with this week's Atlanta Community Profiles.
Hello there and welcome to our show. My name is Lou Whelan. I publish the official relocation guides on Atlanta on behalf of the realtors and distributed by the First Multiple Listing Service and also Chambers of Commerce throughout the city. We have publications for the metro area, for North Fulton in partnership with the North Fulton Chamber, one for Gwinnett County in partnership with the Gwinnett Chamber, one for Inside 285, and one for Cobb County in partnership with the Cobb Association of Realtors. And they're all available in real estate brokerage firms and chambers throughout the metro area. They're also on my website, AtlantaCommunityProfiles.com. And please stop by, pick up a copy, and I think you will enjoy the information and find it very helpful. They're on my site, as I mentioned, AtlantaCommunityProfiles.com. I'm also a realtor with Berkshire Hathaway Home Services, Georgia Properties. So if I can help you with any of your real estate needs, please let me know. And every week, as you know, we interview community leaders, people who are contributing to the well-being of our community. We've interviewed mayors and congressmen and candidates for governor and Secretary of State and so forth. And today we're interviewing actually my partner, Dr. Bill Williams, at Swanee Dental Care. He's was the president and grew his company from zero to millions of dollars in annual sales. His title now is founder and senior managing dentist. But he's the senior person at the practice, and one of the reasons that we interviewed Dr. Williams because he does a lot of really cool things, and including he is a established author, and he's written a couple of books or a few books that have been on and are currently on the Amazon bestseller list. And Dr. Williams, just by way of background, he graduated from Auburn and from the Medical College of Georgia. He's a fellow and master at the Academy of General Dentistry, the Small Business Person of the Year for the Gwinnett Chamber of Commerce 1 year recently, and is 43 years in practice. He's also won the Ron Lamb Award for the Christian Dental Society 1 year for top missions dentist in North America. And he's written 3 books, and basically today he's got a new book that is called The $10,000 a Day Dentist. And I read the book, and it's a quick read. It's extremely informative, and it's something that applies to small business or even large business across many industries. And he's written it from the perspective of a dental practice, but it applies just as much as a real estate brokerage firm or an insurance agency or pretty much anything. A restaurant, you can even use it for management of a restaurant. You name it. I think an insurance company, it has universal application. And so the book is, I learned a lot about it. I've been in business, too, for 50 years. And I found it very helpful. It really brings together a lot of principles of good management. And let me just ask you, Dr. Williams, what, from just a macro standpoint, how does your book contribute to the body of information on business management in general and specifically for a dental practice?
Well, thank you, Lou, for letting me be on your show again. As a partner in here, I get to do a segment every week, but being on the main stage is kind of fun to be with you for a whole hour and highlight something that we're passionate about. And one thing I'm very passionate about is helping dentists be successful. And for your audience out here, the whole audience, not just dentists, but all businesses, if they will apply the principles that we're going to talk about today, they're going to find out that there are concrete business principles that apply across the business spectrum. And what I did was I looked back at the time, my 43 years of practice, and I kind of boiled down the 50 things it takes to have a great day. And so I wanted to find, in a nutshell, how I could teach other businesses to be successful with application of principles. And so a lot of times people look at vision and mission and their purpose, and they get floating around in the space, and they don't get their feet on the ground. And so I wrote this book to go right to the heart of the matter. What are the exact tactics you need to be successful today? You've got your plan, you've got your vision, but what are you going to do today? And so I wrote down 50 things that I was doing every day to be successful, and I put them in order, and I grouped them in certain categories, and now I teach that to dentists. And when the dentists do these things, they all become very successful. And so that's the purpose of the book, is to really get down to the nitty-gritty of tactics for a successful business.
Well, you have quite a bit of experience not only in managing, starting and managing and growing an extremely successful dental practice, but you started another area of work called Solstice, which is a program whereby you mentor leading dentists, not just in Atlanta, but really across the United States. And so in that practice of Solstice, in a separate entity, you actually implement the principles that you articulate in the book. And how's that working out? I know you work with only 10, limited to 10 to 20 dentists per year, I understand.
Yeah, I do 2 classes of 10 dentists every year, and I practice part-time and I teach part-time, so I've got my hands in active practice. I know what's going on day to day with patients, and I'm working with teaching dentists now for about the 10th year in this particular area of practice management, communication, and leadership. So as I work through the process of bringing the dentist in, we have a training ground, the mastermind program, that takes them through the steps that took me 10 or 15 years to go through. They go through it in 1 year. And it's a fast track to learning. It's the fastest way to assimilate information and put it to use that we found in the industry.
I noticed in the book that there were several dentists who are very prominent throughout the United States and around the country, from California to Florida to Oregon, you name it. One of the comments that we received that was that you share management systems which will help run a more efficient and profitable practice, and it's well designed. A well-designed day becomes a blueprint for success, not only in dentistry but for all of life. And that was from an orthodontist in Walnut Creek, California. And another dentist in Oregon, Medford, Oregon, states that Bill has been one of the most influential dentists in the United States for many years. And on. And I've got pages and pages of testimonials from other people who have been in your mentorees and have benefited tremendously. And what kind of feedback do you get from some of these dentists specifically? What is the most rewarding kind of feedback that you get?
Well, there's 2 kinds of feedback that we get. We've got the guys who are already very successful and they become ultra successful, and they are thanking me for creating more free time in their life because they've figured it out and they have been able to grow their practice but reduce the time they work in it, which is the goal. The ultimate goal for me was to work less but earn more. And a lot of times I did that by growing systems, bringing in other people to do the work with me. Rather than me doing all the work, I would become the manager and they would become part of the players. And so I had to expand the team. The other group that really appreciates what we're doing are those whose practices aren't doing that well. They're struggling, and they're looking for the answer because they have what we call roadblocks. They have barriers to get through that they don't know how to do it. They don't know how to get over the barrier around the roadblock. And so our job is to show them where is the place that they're stuck and help them around it. And once they're over that roadblock, then they're able to go ahead and become successful and join the first group and move on to higher successes.
We have another one here from Dr. Phelps from Rockwall, Texas. States that the 5 truths, and we're going to talk about what exactly those are, breaks down and what it become a decathlon dance. So we're going to talk about that in the next segment. And we have so many testimonials, but we basically, the book is a handbook to operating a successful practice and any business, really across all categories of business. So stay tuned. I promise you we'll have great information that will be very helpful. Welcome back. I'm Lou Whelan, sitting here with my partner on the program. You hear his commentary every week in the last segment of our show. And basically, I think we're going to change, by the way, your segment a little bit, maybe starting pretty soon, whereby you are the expert and you're going to be demonstrating that expertise in your broadcast going forward and talking about different aspects of your practice, and which people will find helpful, because dentistry is sort of like the practice of law. It's very mysterious. You walk into a courtroom and you feel lost. You're vulnerable, very helpless. And the same with the dental practice, don't you think? And what do you do to alleviate those kinds of concerns? I know you talk about that in your book when people come in.
Yeah, one of the things that's important for us on a daily basis in the dental practice, and this is what I teach the dentist in the mastermind, is we want to create for them the air of comfort, relaxation, and trust. Now, if the patients can be trusted, if they trust us, then they'll move forward with treatment. And so the whole goal is to get people healthy. And to get people healthy, we've got to build rapport. We've got to get them to see the truth about what their condition is. People don't listen to you if they don't trust you. People don't listen to you if they think that there's something that you're after. It's basically trust builds the whole business. And so our job in the initial setting is always to find out that one key that makes the patient comfortable as we meet them and talk to them. And so it's all about communications and the skills that you learn to influence people in a positive manner. If you turn them off and scare them with the wrong move, the wrong talk, the wrong look, the wrong smell, you can walk into a dental office and it smells funny and you don't want to stay there. Mm-hmm. It's the same way with any business. We want to create the atmosphere of relaxation. So we really work hard with our dentists to teach them how to set the stage for people to accept their needed treatment. We always imagine in our minds, the dentist, that everybody needs to be healthy. Everybody wants to be healthy, that everybody wants to look good. We take that as a given. But you have to overcome the barriers, the fears, and often it's the ignorance to actually how bad the disease is that keeps people from moving forward. They don't know. If it doesn't hurt, they don't think it's a problem. And so we have to be kind and gentle when we tell people the bad news. And so there's a lot of things that dentists do to influence the patient in a positive way.
You know, Lee Iacocca wrote a book, Jack Welch wrote a book, and they both talked about teamwork or collaboration. And how does that apply in your practice with your associates?
You know, nobody is successful in dentistry without a great team around them. A dentist can't do it all. Practice of dentistry is a team approach where you've got people that are managing the front, people that are clinically helping the dentist out, team that's making the crown and bridge lab materials, dentures, and whatnot. And then you've got the dental hygienists who are, you know, more in charge of the prevention and communication and education in the practice. So without the team functioning as a whole, you don't have much progress for the patient. And it should be seamless. Every part has to work at the same time, but it has to be almost invisible. The patient just kind of sits there and things happen around them, but it's got to be very good systems. Everybody has to know their part. Everybody has to know their position. It's like the analogy I give my doctors in the courses that I teach is it's like you're in a play and everybody has lines and everybody has positions and they have to deliver their part of the play on the right cue. You have to come on stage at the right time. You have to leave at the right time. The main character has to take over. When it's time for the main character to do his lines, you know, he's the star. So sometimes I'm the star. I'm the dentist doing the treatment. Sometimes it's the hygienist doing the treatment. They're the star. Sometimes it's the lady at the front desk who's giving the consultation and describing the type of treatment that the doctor is planning. And so everybody has a time to interface with the patient. And if these things don't work together, then the play's a flop or the dental treatment is a failure. And so to me, teamwork is essential from start to finish.
And you also liken it in your book to a symphony. And I guess you're kind of like the conductor in a way,
yeah,
to some extent at least. But you're not playing you are playing an instrument, unlike a.
Yeah, my instrument is a dental drill,
yeah.
And it makes a whine. But there are other sounds in the dental office too. Of course, the dentist that owns the practice is the conductor, and he may have 4 or 5 other dentists working in there who play first chair. But you've always got to have, you know, the bassist, and you've got to have the cello, and you've got to have the clarinets, the flutes, and all the pieces have to go together.
Just from a macro standpoint, and I think there are a lot of business owners, including myself, who can benefit greatly from the book, and I did benefit greatly. But one of the things I liked about your book was the concept of a vision board and articulating your goals very precisely. How does that play out in the book, in your mind and in your practice?
Every time that we design a new year, we'll have a starting point for every year, and we call that the State of the Practice Address. And we'll put up a vision board where we're showing, here's what we did last year, here's where we're going next year. And we put up our goals, and we put up our vision of where we want to be and what we want to accomplish. And so everybody in the team sets goals for the year, and then we start doing what's called 90-day goals. And we'll set a plan for how many new patients we'd like to see per month, how much business we would like to attract to us. And over time, when everybody goes through and I do my goals, my department leaders do their goals, and each member of the team does goals in their department. And so everybody is then on the same track. The vision is synchronized throughout the company. And when a company's on the same track, everybody's on the same board, then we seldom get lost.
So you have principles that you articulate that certainly apply to I have several companies, but they apply to everyone, and one of the underlying kind of directives is establishing systems. Tell me how does that? What do you mean
I'm a
by
huge
that, and
believer in systems. I call them patient care systems because most of them revolve around how we take care of our patients. Some of them are separately maybe related to business systems, like how we would answer phone calls, but that's still patient care. You know, the way you interface with the patient on the phone. You always have a goal, you know, and that's always to hear the patient's needs. And so we always have to make sure that we're focused on what they're wanting when they call in. So we have systems to assure that that happens. Then we have systems for each type of problem that they might have. So if you've got root canals and toothaches, you've got to have a system to deal with the pain the day they call. They don't want to be put off till next week. You've got to have a system to work them in. You've got to have a system that will let you have an interruption in your schedule to take care of somebody's pain. And if you don't have a system, it's a big interruption and everything falls apart. But when we have a system, everything can work and people can call in, we'll take care of them, and they cannot have a disruption in their day that's more than 2 or 3 days with a toothache.
I know that you also talk about in the book how those systems are often scripted. It looks like a play. And because a lot of times people forget their lines. So I'm sure that they find that very helpful.
If you get some new person in the practice that you're training, you want them to be up to speed quickly, and there's nothing better than to have a script they follow until they learn it to use their own words.
Stay tuned. We'll be right back after the break. Welcome back. I am Lou Whelan talking with Dr. Bill Williams, author of the best-selling book, The $10,000 a Day Dentist. I read the book, Dr. Williams, and I found it fantastic. Couldn't really put it down. I pretty much read it in one sitting, as a matter of fact. It's pretty unusual for a person with attention deficit disorder like me. But how did the book come into being, Dr. Williams, anyway?
Well, Lou, it was 2016. I was 1 or 2 weeks before my first mastermind session. It was going to be like, I want to have the most powerful message I could deliver for the guys in the group. I wanted something that would make a difference in their practices. And I sat there thinking, now, what are the things that I do that I could teach them that would make the most difference? And I realized that I was more productive than most dentists. I could do more in less time. Now, I think that was not by skill or luck. I think it was by intention. I think I planned it that way. And so I started looking at what I do that makes that happen. And so I wrote down 50 things that I do every day that make my day work really well. And I kind of realized when I got through with it, those 50 things could be divided up into 5 different categories. But I put together the concept, $10,000 a day dentist, and for those people listening on the show, that's really $10,000 a day businessman. You know, your business doing $10,000 a day. You might be retail, you might be professional, you might be sales. But the idea is you take your top goal, what you think is the really best of the best day, what can you do in that day? And you do that every day. So that's what I wanted to teach my dentist is, since I'd been averaging over $10,000 of production a day for 15 years, every day I worked. So it was routine, easy, it wasn't stressful, and it was just what I did. But most people don't do that. Most people do 3,000, 4,000. And so I said, there's got to be something special I can teach that will let people move from 3,000 or 4,000 a day up to 10 in productivity. What we always talk about money is it's related to the amount of service we do. You know, it's not about making the money. It's about delivering as much service as we can. And you can see more people and do more service. My wife always says, if you take care of people, the money will come. So that's my goal, is to just see as many people as I can in a day to do more service. And we track it. And we tracked it. It came out 10,000 a day. The book came about because I wrote down what I did to train those dentists, and they all started doing 10,000 a day. It was very successful. So I said, I've got to write a book because this stuff is too powerful to leave sitting in just a mastermind session where only a few get to take advantage of it.
So Dr. Alex Middleton, the guide, he's the fictitious character in the book. Sort of like they on your phone, on your iPhone, you call up, and what's her name? What's her name?
Alexa.
Alexa answers.
Siri.
But he's an interesting character. But so he's tell us a little bit about why did you pick that individual to depict the story instead of making it more autobiographical? It's almost like biographical.
Alex Middleton is a dentist who is the expert, and he's the hero of the book. He goes around giving good advice to people. He's like Father Knows Best. He's like Raymond Burr.
Yeah, I forgot the name of the show, but the legal show all about crime, and so he's a lawyer. I think
he's the top dog, So Alex Middleton's there, and he's meeting these 5 dentists around the country, and they come to him with questions because he's known as the guide, the guru. And so Alex says, "Well, I'm not sure I'm going to answer your question, but let me ask you a question," like Columbo. So he's wise. And he's thinking for these guys, how can I help them be successful without telling them the answer? And so what Alex does is he will lead them to discover the answer that they need through his methods. He's got 4 or 5 methods he uses. And it's kind of fun to go through the book and see what method he's going to use to get them to answer that question.
He's like a good manager. And in management, they say that people don't like to really be told what to do, but if you can help them figure it out on them, whereby they believe it's their idea, they'll be a lot more cooperative and more passionate about their work.
That's kind of like Alex, He's that kind of a dentist.
Mm-hmm. We want to ask you about a word that you used in the book called walkabout. And liken it to Aborigines in Australia. So stay tuned. We'll be right back. We're going to hear about it. What is a walkabout, and a couple of other interesting terms in there that I thought were interesting. So, but like I said, the principles here apply universally, such as measure results. It's establishing priorities, setting goals, following up and repeat, on and on. And stay tuned. I promise you will learn principles that will be applicable to your business, whatever kind of business you happen to manage. Stay tuned. We'll be right back. Welcome back. I'm Lou Whelan, sitting here with my partner, actually, Dr. Bill Williams. We've been partners for several years now on this show, and he has a segment at the end of the program, the last segment, that whereby he talks to patients and they give him feedback, and we're going to change that up a little bit to provide specific information and kind of a definition of different aspects of dentistry and going forward. So you'll want to stay tuned to listen to that segment. But what everybody benefits, every successful man in business or government or whatever talks about the importance of a mentor relationship. Tell us in your words how people benefit from having mentors.
If you have been there before, you might know something different than somebody who's never been. If you've seen Niagara Falls and understand the volume and the sound and the roar of the water, you can't just tell somebody about it. You got to see it. And a mentor has seen it, and he can give you that feedback. In dentistry, the 30, 40 years of experience cannot be translated by reading a book. You got to have somebody there who can see what you're doing and then comment on it and lead you into a better way of doing things. So I liken the idea of a mentor to being somebody that's a guide through the jungle. I call it the dental jungle in my book. And the dental jungle is really it's a tough area to go through by yourself, and everybody needs somebody to go beside them. And there are different types of mentors, but the one who actually will help you up the steps and pull you along is the best type of mentor. And I had mentors all through my career, starting in 1981. You know, I had a mentor named Ron McConnell who basically took me from an average dentist to a super dentist because I was able to leap outside the jar that I was held in. He unscrewed the lid and let me leap out. And I became able to see things I couldn't see before, understand things I couldn't understand, because he basically opened my mind to the possibilities. You know, he gave me the book Think and Grow Rich from Napoleon Hill. We learned to set goals. And we started setting audacious goals. And by setting audacious goals, you move from one plateau to the next plateau. And soon enough, I was in the Omer Reed in Phoenix, Arizona's office, and I was learning from one of the greatest dentists in the world. And he was my mentor. 5 years later, after being with Ron, I was with Omer. And so I learned everything from Omer that I could. And then I moved on, and I was studying with Charlie Martin. And I learned about social proof and the role of authority and using websites for exposing yourself to the world. So we were learning things back then that were way beyond what most dentists were doing at the time. It's all about mentors leading you to the next level.
I know you mentioned in the book about the concept of being a giver.
Mm-hmm.
What does that mean to you in terms of as a person, as an adult, in operating in business, not just in the practice of dentistry?
Well, a generous soul attracts people, and there's the law of reciprocity. So if you give away things, you'll get more in return. The law of sowing and reaping would be a biblical term for that. And so our belief is that we should be generous with our time, generous with our gifts that we've been given, and share with other people. So I write the books I write and share my secrets with other dentists because I think I've been given a gift to share my beliefs. And one of my beliefs is that everybody can be successful. You don't have to hoard all the ideas and try to be the only one who has the secret.
I know in your book you said if it's been done before, it can be done again.
Yeah, that's one of my favorite sayings. If it's been done, it's probably possible.
So, you know, one of the things I like too about the book is I know you are a pretty spiritual person. I know you have started a church that's been very successful in Gwinnett County, but I know you place a lot of priority on the concept of prayer. How does that play out in your personal and business life?
Well, prayer is something that we believe in. We have communication with God, and we get spoken to, and He speaks to us. And we don't believe that anything's possible in our own way, but everything's possible in His way. And so we're in prayer to ask for those things that we feel like maybe it's not possible for us to do it on our own, but we still want it done. And so we'll involve our team in prayers. We'll pray before we go to work. We'll pray about the practice and the success of the practice and the treatments for the patients, and pray for my individual patients in the chair with them over a procedure before we start. So there's times where it's appropriate for the prayers to be open and visible. Sometimes they're just silent. You don't even have to tell people you're praying for them.
I know you talked about putting yourself into a position whereby you could actually hear from God directly, and it sounds, for people who aren't really connected to God necessarily, it might sound strange, but as a believer, I know exactly what you mean. And basically, the question is that a lot of people ask, whether in any area of life, is how do you get yourself into a position where you can actually hear from God and receive instruction and then take action on that instruction?
That's a pretty good question, because this book I wrote, The $10,000 Day Dentist, is a product of listening to God. I would ask him questions like, what do you want me to write about? What this topic that I'm up to right now in the book, what's the most important thing I should give the audience, the reader, about this topic? And I would just pray about that, and then sit and listen. And I remember I was on vacation, and I spent every morning from like 5 to 7 o'clock when I got up on vacation, sitting there by myself, drinking a coffee and writing. And I would always pray for about 4 or 5 minutes, and then write for 30 minutes. And I came up with a lot of the best information in the book based on the questions and the answers that I got.
Stay tuned. We'll be right back. We have a lot more interesting topics. Welcome back. I'm Lou Whelan here with my partner, Dr. Bill Williams, talking about his best-selling book, The $10,000 a Day Dentist. Fantastic book, applicable to a wide range of businesses, how to grow your business from zero to $10,000 a day. In that book, you talked about the concept of the walkabout and measuring your results. I wondered if you wouldn't mind sharing your thoughts on what is a walkabout. It's not something in basketball, I know.
No.
How does that apply in your book?
I have been to Australia. You're right, Lou. And I've been influenced by the Australians quite a bit. And one of the things the Aborigines do to come of age is they go out into the outback and they do a walkabout. And they go out for days and days and a long time, and they're by themselves, and they have to brave the elements. So the walkabout, to me, kind of is like a new dentist coming out into a new area. And when I went from Stone Mountain to Swanee and started my new practice when I was 48 years old, I started over at 48. That's one of the most amazing things about our practice, and I wrote about that in my first book called Marketing the $1 Million Practices. How did I go from zero to to $5.8 million in 10 years? And it started by doing walkabout. I actually walked the pavement, and I met all the businesses in town. I was, knocking on doors, introducing myself to everybody that was another business person. And I said, I'm a new dentist in town, and I want to meet you and learn what your business is so that you can, be somebody that I can rely on to refer to. So I was looking for referral groups and patterns. And so walkabout meant that I participated in the community. And it's basically my opportunity to meet people and to be a part of the community since I just moved there. And I didn't know anybody in the community when I first moved to Swanee. That was 1997. I did a lot of walking, a lot of meeting, and a lot of greeting, and it turned into a lot of business.
20 years.
Now, I measured what happened after that. It wasn't like I just had things happen and I didn't pay attention. And so one of the concepts of measure what you do, because we know that what gets measured gets done. And when you're talking about staff and team, if they're doing things and you want them to do them correctly, the best thing you can ever do is measure what they do so they actually show a result. So if they don't get it measured, they might not do it. They might get a little lazy and forget to turn in their homework, you might say. But homework is always something we kept in our business. Staff members had to do something every day to show their creativity. What did they do that day? So I measured everything they did that was creative. Every staff member had a KPI, a key performance indicator, tied to their job, or 2 or 3. Now, not only tied the KPI to the individual, I turned it on to the department level, and so the department had to have statistics that they turned in, and then we had to have practice-wide statistics. Like, how many new patients did we get this month is a very key element. Any business needs new business, new clients, new customers. And so if you don't have a steady stream of new people coming in, you certainly will soon die as a business. You know, all real estate people need new clients to list their houses. That's kind of the way it was.
We're running out of time. I want to ask you one last question. I know one thing that you talked about in the book was, quote, what's on the walls, unquote. What does that mean?
What's got on the walls means how are you going to show up when people come in and you do the tour? Because we tour everybody through the office, and we want them to see stuff on the walls that explains who we are. We want them to learn about us. And so as they tour and go through and look at the walls, they'll see my diplomas, my certificates of graduation from different academies. We'll see before and after pictures of my cases, so they look at the old, and they look at the new, and they'll go, yeah, I can see that you can do this work. The whole idea of what's on your walls is social proof and establishing authority.
Great having you back on the show, Dr. Williams, and working with you on the program every week. Appreciate your involvement in your practice and the contributions I know that you make to the community. You were Small Businessman of the Year one year from the Greater Gwinnett Chamber of Commerce. So we know you do contribute to the well-being of the community, and you also on mission trips and many other ways. So thank you so much for your service. And now we'll see you next week. So stay tuned for the next show next week. We'll be looking forward to talking with you. Have a great day.